Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It Paint It. In this video, we're going to be looking at a new product or service or Patreon. It's a Patreon. It's a Patreon you can subscribe to, and that is Print Minis. Now, this Patreon is from the creators of Asset Drop, which was that premium subscription box that I used to get around the hobby world that we live in. And it came with miniatures, paints, pieces, basing, everything you needed to produce a sort of product that they shipped you in a box, as well as some awesome painting tutorials. And I followed them myself, and they were absolutely fantastic guides, and it helped you create a really, really nice piece each time you receive one of these boxes. Now, they've gone into the Patreon space, which is just another way of having a subscription service to some degree. And now what they're doing is taking custom miniatures, bespoke, exclusive miniatures. They're having them designed, they own them. It's entirely their own IP, and they're allowing us to sign up and for much reduced on the retail price, get the collection of STL files to download and print those miniatures. Now, it's going to be $10 a month, and I guess you can dip in and out as and when you want the actual miniatures. They're going to be sci-fi based, and this month it's this sort of Dieselpunk collection, which look absolutely fantastic. And I'm not a big sci-fi fan, so it has to be exceptionally good miniatures for me to be interested in, and these look good. I mean, look at the Patreon, guys. You can look at what they look like, and we're going to be opening up these boxes. Now, as I said, it is a 3D printing space Patreon. You get the STL, so you are going to need a 3D printer. Who doesn't have a 3D printer? This guy. Now, I've wanted a 3D printer for at least 3 years now, and I'm just never sure what to buy. I don't know what to do. I don't know anything about it. And actually thinking about it, this is the sort of subscription service that might get me into it. It's a small company as well, and I just imagine they'd spend some time helping me through the process, buying a printer, learning stuff about it, and helping me print the miniatures they produce. Anyway, guys, I'm just speculating on where I might get into this world that you're already in. Let me know below what printers you would recommend. And they have sent me some pre-printed miniatures. Now, it's not a service they offer yet, but I could see them doing it in the future. Let's have a look at what the actual miniatures look like in real life, printed out. Obviously, it's going to differ depending on your printers, but let's have a look what they sent. Now, I've not looked at all in these boxes, and I'll get them out of the way. The first thing you can see is how absolutely massive they are. Now, I haven't got giant hands. I haven't got really small hands either. I've got average size hands, and these are not average size boxes. There's probably a lot of padding in there, so I won't big it up too much. But first of all, there's a lot of content. This isn't all of it. They do 21 miniatures in this set, and this is going to be a subset of that, just to give us a look and feel of it. And then inside here, Inception boxes. We've got boxes in boxes. So I'm going to get everything out, and then we'll start peeping at it. But I just wanted to see how this arrived and let you know, guys, I've not opened this. This is going to be my gut reactions to seeing these for the first time. So I always think there's some value in that, but we'll zoom ahead to all of these being out on the desk. Bribery. It was my birthday. How big is that? Oh, I've got to build it. You having a giraffe? How big is that? Oh. I need to make sure I don't lose any bits. There's some tiny bits in here. Whew. That's massive. Right, so that is everything out of the box. Obviously, there wouldn't normally be any unboxing to do. So we haven't got that to look forward to. Or hey, I think Andy and Gemma need to come and freaking clean my floor because it's now covered in shredded paper. Anyway, guys, as I joked as I was unboxing, it was my birthday. The beers are not a bribe, and everybody knows that doesn't work on me. You have to send me Pringles. Let's get that out of the way before I'm tempted to drink it, and this review unboxing goes drastically downhill. Guys, 3D printing has come a very, very long way, hasn't it? Like, I was not expecting this to be anywhere as near as clean. I can't see the print resolutions. Is this resin then? I don't know enough about printing. The capability at home is just absolutely fantastic. I'm sure a lot of you watching this will have 3D printers, will be interested in 3D printing, and that is exactly where this new Patreon comes into play, doesn't it? It gives you great looking miniatures, and these are great, and they're just printed fantastically well. So I'll find out what printer they used, and if, like myself, you don't have one, I'll put it in a link below so you can go and check it out, because I'm certainly going to find out what they use and go and look at it myself. I won't go through everything here because realistically they're all going to be similar quality because they've used the same printer. But we'll look at some of the sculpts in some detail, and then I'll spin them all at the end, and guys, you can just enjoy that and look at that itself. I could not believe how big this, I think is it Goliath? I think this is called Goliath on the Patreon, if I recall correctly, and it's absolutely massive. This is the biggest, it's certainly the chunky, whoa, that moves. Oh, it comes off. It's certainly the biggest, chunkiest miniature I own. It's maybe not as big as some of my zombie-side dragons. I think it didn't survive the post because it's in pieces, and I have seen on their Patreon. So I should mention on their Patreon they have obviously the STLs that you get. They have guides on building them. So this comes in pieces when you print it off and you build it. The glue's not held up in the post, despite the fact they had the most packaging I've ever seen in my life. But Royal Mail, guys, Royal Mail. Our postal service kicks things around. So that's not really survived, but it looks great. It looks like a gun, doesn't it? It looks like Transformer, and it's like was originally a handgun. It's into this Goliath, and it just looks great. I will try and build this and glue it back together off camera so you guys can see it spin at the final video, if I can even fit it on my spinner and you guys can take it in. But whoo, what a beast. And so let's look at, so this guy, oh, he comes with a person as well. So I don't know if it normally would have the person or if they've chosen to glue one of the characters on here, but this is Mac, like Mecha Canine. I don't know. It abbreviates to Mac, one of the other characters, big robot dog. That's another thing, as I mentioned, they have painting tutorials on the Patreon, but I've also seen one of their painters has just Instagram's full of examples of this, and he's done an amazing job on this giant robot dog as well. And that's beautiful, isn't it? It's got little scratches, it looks like a tally. I wonder what they were counting on the side of this robot. Should he have a tail? I'm going to have to check the box and make sure I've not lost any pieces. Actually, I'll just look on Patreon and see how that should look, but it could have had a tail. But it looks fantastic with or without one, I'd say, because it looks good there. The detail on this little miniature, can you see her tiny little hammer and pliers? That is a spanner in a hand. That is probably the smallest, most accurate looking tiny hammer gun on a ankle here I've seen. That is going to be amazing to paint. A dreadlocks, you can see each individual dreadlock. Again, just going to be able to paint that really, really well. Oh, you know what I say when I get something and I'm excited to paint it and I can feel it as I'm talking about it and looking at it. I'm excited to paint this. Just even a hair, just imagining what I could do with that. Some sort of cyberpunk dreadlocks, each one being a bright neon different color strand. So that's looking great. You've got this big daddy, what's that daddy thing off of that BioShock? Looks a bit like that, doesn't it? Big robot, at least mech suit, if not just an actual robot. It's looking really nice. These bases, I wonder if there's some individually, I mean, you could just print out the bases, right? You don't have to have the miniature on them, and they look really nice, really sci-fi. They would certainly be something I could use in many, many games, just buying the bases alone. Oh, they should do an STL base pack, maybe at a lower cost, because that is exactly the sort of thing I'd be very, very interested in printing off all day, every day. You've got things like this turret gun as well. I mean, this is going to differ drastically, isn't it, depending on your printer, but the sculpts look good and they just feel and seem amazingly well printed as well. I just had no idea 3D printing had this capability now. It's come a long way since I last received any 3D printed models, I think. Like, yeah, absolutely fantastic. Let's zoom ahead and I'll open some of these characters, these human characters. Right, so I've popped open some of the humans, and it reminded me that so there's big robots, there's the robot dogs, some bigger sculpts, a turret, bases. I know they've got lots of these unique bases, but I think there's 5 sort of like hero characters, and then there's also like these NPC or like enemy characters, I think sort of generic baddies, and I believe this is one of those sort of generic enemies to play with in either a game or I'm guessing an RPG is what you'd be using these things for, a sci-fi based RPG. And yeah, again, the quality is massively there. The detail on this, all the folds in his clothes as well as each little piece of his armor, individual segments. Quality's really there. Sculpts are looking great, and I'm blown away by the bases. I genuinely think they should just have a month of just 21 different bases, I'd be well down for that. And that seems like the exact sort of thing you could easily print yourselves. I also am blown away with the quality of this printing. Now, it is breaking. It didn't survive the post despite that packaging. And I guess that is hinting that this is then resin, isn't it? It's being quite fragile. This is, I believe, Grigory, I think is his name, a sniper that comes in the set. I guess one of the sort of hero player characters. And again, really, really nice. Really like the detail, the folds in his cloak, that sort of thing. I'll try and glue all these together and give them a spin at the end just to remind you. You'll get to see them without my hands in the way and without me talking at you again. Oh, this must be another example of like the generic baddies you get. I actually picked this one out first because I thought it looked absolutely awesome. I thought it was one of the goodies. It does not appeal that way. Again, he's lost his hand, but you're not buying them printed, you're printing them out yourselves, so don't break them when you print them out yourselves. It's as easy as that. But I love this shield. Fantastic little miniature, really different to the other generic baddie, different weapons, different stance, etc. And every base I believe I've seen, yeah, just another unique custom sci-fi base. I think they look absolutely great, don't they? Well, there we go. I actually think they're missing a trick, or hopefully they'll expand into being they've obviously got good printers. They need to work on the packaging. Maybe they should come and we have to glue them together ourselves, because that's adding some fragility on some of the glue points. Unless they do print all as one. But it looks like there's glue and it looks like it's just not held up. But yeah, it would be nice for people like me who, this is great, but I haven't got a printer, so it's the sort of thing I would have to miss out on. But I'll go and find out what printer they've got, see how much they cost, that sort of thing, and I might be having a chat with the wife, see what I can do. Anyway, guys, I'm pretty impressed with this. I will definitely leave a link in the description below so you can go and check out the Patreon. As I said, it's $10. It's worth having a look at, especially if you've got a 3D printer and you're interested in sci-fi miniatures. And then I'm going to go and glue it all back together, anything that broke in the postage, and give it all a spin so you guys can just check that out while the video plays out. Thank you all ever so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It Painted. Why am I talking like this? Miniature subscription loot sort of box, that subscription box, loot box. It was a box that used to come. Patreon, it is a Patreon, but it's a kind of service. It's in the, oh my lord, on their site afterwards. Should I start again? Maybe. It's hard. You should script things. You should write things down when you're talking. It's incredibly hard not to talk shit when you don't.